Hello everybody, and welcome to another week of Becky Flaherty's 52 Weeks of Florals. As you may know if you've been following along with my other videos, Becky is running an Instagram challenge of a flower a week and starting off in the British Isles, and it's week 4, and I decided to sort of paint along with it or sketch along with that because I think it's a really good idea. And I have made a bit of a promise to myself this year to do some more florals. I really want to, and it seemed just too good to be true. So here we are, and I've got the Scarlet Pimpernel for you this week. It's week 4, and this is a tiny little flower. It's not probably something you've seen hundreds of times and taken no notice of. Excuse me. I have decided to sketch it quite a bit bigger so I can look at some detail, but actually as a flower it's about the size of my thumbnail. I would have thought it's not very big at all. So I shall start in the usual manner. I did have some debate over which colours to use here to start with, because I'm going to use the Echolines first. Although it is a Scarlet Pimpernel, I'm going to start with orange, and it's actually light orange, Ecoline light orange, and I've sketched the flower in with some watercolor pencil, and I like doing that because you don't get those harsh pencil lines when you finish. So first of all, we just put in the lightest color first, which in this case I'm going to use an orange base. Even though it says Scarlet Pimpernel, I'm going to make up for that with some colored pencils. Yeah, I did with great difficulty avoid making any Pimpernel, you know, they seek him here, they seek him there jokes, so I do hope that's appreciated. I figured, oh goodness me, no, I can't do that to you. Right, just getting some green in there now. I'm using a bronze green this time for the leaves. And like I said, this is not an accurate representation. We will all know that it's a Scarlet Pimpernel, but no one else might. That's okay. I've swapped out my watercolor pencil to draw with this time and used a Lyra. I'm not thrilled at the fact that it's staying around. And this one, these are the little sort of buds that come out from the leaf area. Right, so we've got that. Now the next bit is to get that beautifully violet centre in. I'm not sure if this is a little bit dark, but I'm going to go with it anyway. And I want to work quite quickly in the direction of growth, but then I want to blend it with my blending stump a bit. Not going to play ball, I'm afraid. That's fine. Just come in. I'll find a way of doing that in a minute. Oh, that's a bit better. You've got to have a reasonable amount to actually do the job. This is a blending stump or a tortillon. It's a number 3. I use these when my finger, which I prefer to blend with because it's easier, but sometimes my finger's too thick, and I thought it might have been the case here. Not sure. Yeah. Actually gone right through the paper there, so I shall have to be careful. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my heat tool and just dry that. Yeah, the paper doesn't enjoy being moved about like that very much. This one's a Stillman and Byrne Beta Series sketchbook. I love the paper. A bit pricey, but love the paper, and will probably continue to suffer the price. So those are the base layers down. Now what we've got to do is come back in and make that into a Scarlet Pimpernel. So what I'm going to do, this is my Caran d'Ache Scarlet, you'll be pleased to know, pencil, and I'm coming back from the outside here in the direction of the center. So it's still sort of center of growth, but kind of backwards center of growth. Again, outline it to give it a nice outline, and then come back in towards the center. The advantage of this is you get those natural striations that you have with flowers. Like so. but also we're preserving some of the orange. To be honest, it's looking more like a nasturtium at the moment. I'm not 100% happy with the colour that I've chosen for the orange. I'm just going to turn it round because it's easier on film. So do forgive me if you're feeling a bit seasick there. Right. Now what we need to do is we need to come back in the middle with a mid colour between the orange and the red and burnish it a little bit. And I'm using an anthraquinide pink in Caran d'Ache as well to just bring those two colours together, because one is too bright. This is going to be a bright flower anyway. But as you can see, when you go over the darker red with the lighter pink and then go straight onto the orange with that, it burnishes it and sort of pushes it into the paper a little bit, gets rid of some of the texture. I'm also going to take this pink down onto that purple because that's where we should have been to begin with, is that sort of muted colour. I can actually repair that hole in the paper there too. It seems to have forgiven me. I'm not in love with the purple, but I couldn't find another colour in that range. And I really wanted to use my Neocolours, good grief, my Eco Lines. Right, so what we've got there now, as you can see, it's gone from being quite, you can pick up the red a little bit, but it's gone from being quite sort of granulated to a little bit smoother. And you can keep doing that. I'm not too fussed about the texture. I don't mind that at all. The next thing to do now is, because of these bits here, which, like I said, I'm not in love with, it's got a bit of a halo of purple around the centre and then some yellow sort of stamens. So what I'm going to do is just scribble in, this one is quinacridone purple. So quinacridone purple, hang on. Yeah, quinacridone, excuse me. And a bit of white over the top of that to, again, burnish it. And give the flower a bit of a centre. So anytime you go over something in a lighter colour, you get a burnished effect. So, yeah, that's white is the one to go with there. Now, these have got a little sort of green thing. I'm no botanist. Olive earth is what I'm going to use. So in between, there's a sort of a green point, which only has to be suggested in this case. I am very sure there's a name for it. And if any of you are a botanist, please put it in the comments. I'd love to learn it. So that was a Derwent Lightfast, which, again, love those. Now I'm going to use one of my Tooly Art acrylic paint pens. This is a number 5. They don't have colours as such, but they're very good. And I love using them. So just giving it a good shake, because then in the middle, there are some little stamens. There seem to be about 5 of them in most flowers. Now, sometimes this is an acrylic marker, so it's nice and bright and everything like that, but sometimes it will pick up the colours from underneath. So you have to, oh, great. I'm glad I looked at that before I sat in it or something. It's just leaked on me, so that's nice. Apparently they do that, and this one has done it. I've never had that happen before, to be fair, so I will deal with that later on. Might have some air in it. Just grabbing a wet wipe. Sorry about the crackling. Just grabbing a wet wipe because I can do without yellow paint all over my clothes. If you have markers, acrylic markers, just in case you don't know how to test for the air in them, you put them sort of end down, put the lid upside down onto the point, because basically your finger, it'll really hurt your finger otherwise, and give it a couple of pumps, because sometimes if there's an air bubble in there, it will leak, and that will do the trick as a rule. This is very annoying. That's my favourite yellow. We'll check it again in a minute because I've still got to use it to make those a bit brighter. So whilst we're doing that, let us have a look. I'm going back in with the olive earth and just making a centre vein. Don't want it to continue from that little bit that's coming out, but it might. And then again, the light is presumed to come from the left in most things I do. Now working in the direction of growth, just give it a little bit of shade and light. Here too, there's a bit of shade under here because it's actually under the leaf, so we can get away with that. Quite smooth looking leaves, to be fair, and very small, so probably have a little bit coming back up under here too. And I use this formula for most of my leaves, to be fair, because it works really well. Now on these buds we can give those some divisions. Just a little bit of colour there, and here as well, up this side. A little bit more here because it's under the flower. And then down this side. And of course this one's right away from the light, so just spin that round and give it a little bit of colour on that side. And here again, I'm going to try a lemon yellow, which back to Caran d'Ache actually, to just burnish that, because I want to squash it down a bit and introduce another colour down the middle for a bit of a highlight. But also I want to squash some of the graininess out of that leaf. So by burnishing it, you've got to be careful when you burnish and be very, very sure that you're finished, because when you burnish, you squash the tooth of the paper, which means it won't accept as many subsequent layers. So, you know, you'll get away with some, but not as many as before. But what you're doing, as you can see here, that's now made that into a better leaf. You can darken it up a little bit. Like I said, it'll take some, but it won't take what it did before. So any light yellow is good. Bit on the side there as well. Then these tend to come, see, that's just doing nothing. It's invisible on that leaf now. So what I will do is I'll swap that out. That was olive earth. That was already olive earth. So Mars Black, no, we don't want that. What I'm looking for is my forest pencil. Ocean Blue Forest. Because we can try and put in a bit of a stem. These are weird. They come out of the middle of nowhere from the leaves. And again, never do to a painting just one bit. If you've used forest or another colour here, put a little bit here as well, and maybe a little bit on the leaf, just to bring it all together. Because this is a darker colour, it can go further away there. Right, now what we have to do is go back and hope this pen's working better, and just go over the top of these. You may have to do that 2 or 3 times. And when you do that, then they tend to be, don't know about that, they tend to be a little bit brighter. Right, that's my take on the Scarlet Pimpernel flower. You can, of course, come in with, if I can find the right drawer here, I've actually just done a complete makeover in my art studio, which I'm going to film for you next week. I'm using, this is a number 18, also Tooly Art acrylic paint pen. Why I like these is because they're so fine, and I'm just sort of adding something to the stems and also the centres. It's not going to add much because it's so close to the colour I've used. It's not funny. Can't really see that at all. Let me see if I can find a better colour. Not without making a great deal of noise. Wait a minute, here's the lighter one. Just to show that it is on the top there. That's better. That's actually really a little lemon yellow. Can add some of that on top of here as well. Every bit counts. Okay. Any finishing touches, because I'm back with my purple that I used before? I don't think so. I'm just going to smudge that. That has achieved what it's going to achieve. Just give that a bit of a hit. I'm going to leave it. Honestly, we should have a commandment that says thou shalt not fiddle, because it's when I do that, I ruin something, and I can always see something on a picture that should be fixed somehow. For example, here on the petals, you could go in with a bit of white, and I can never ever resist trying it. See, this has worked this time because, again, white is a burnishing colour, and it further squashes that down and gives a little bit of curl to the leaf. Yeah. So, yes, you can do all sorts of things like that. I'm not going to. I'm going to leave that well alone. This is a very, very blown up picture of a Scarlet Pimpernel flower, and I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and leave me a comment. Tell me what you thought. And yeah, I will see you again next week with another one, and probably even earlier than that, because like I said, I'm going to show you my art studio and the new addition that I have made. So, yep, have a fabulous day, and I will see you next week.